guys, welcome back for another video. I wanted to just take a few minutes to discuss some questions that have been coming up. As I tell people that I'm driving a battery electric vehicle, some people say, well, isn't that vehicle actually powered by fossil fuels? And so they're smart enough to know that a battery electric vehicle is simply storing energy and using it that was produced by some other energy generation source. And ideally that might be wind power, solar power, or other renewables. That would be the greenest option, but in many cases the energy is produced by fossil fuels. So how does that compare to the efficiency or the greenness, so to speak, of a gas-powered vehicle? Essentially we're comparing the efficiency of the electrical generation that's being used by the car with the efficiency of a gasoline automobile. So considering thermal efficiency, the average gasoline vehicle is powered by an internal combustion engine that gets about 20 to 30% efficiency on a thermal level. So about 20% of the energy that's in your gas tank is actually being used for motive power, and the rest of it is being lost to heat primarily and other inefficiencies. Diesels are quite a bit better, approaching 40% efficiency, but still a loss there of 60%. And that's just the efficiency of the internal combustion engine. You also have to consider how much energy does it take to get that gas or diesel into your tank. So an incredible amount of energy is used for the exploration to find oil deposits, to actually drill down and get to the oil deposits deep under the ocean floor, under the land mass, to pump that oil out, to transport it to refineries and then refine it into usable gasoline, and then to ship that gasoline to a gas storage facilities, gas stations, and eventually into your tank. And you have to consider all the inefficiencies involved there. So what is the efficiency of the pumps that are drawing the oil out of the ground? What is the efficiency of the refinery? In other words, how much energy does the refinery need to be able to refine that gasoline? What about the losses just in pumping and transportation and pipelines? What about all the fuel used by trucks that transport it, even the pumps that use energy to pump it in your tank? So the transportation and delivery of gasoline combined with exploration, discovery of it, pumping it out of the ground, refining it, all those things combined makes it much, much, much more inefficient than that 20% figure. So that 20% is just the inefficiency of the internal combustion engine that's powering your vehicle. So you're losing 60 to 80% of the energy contained in the gasoline in your tank because of the inefficiency of that engine when it comes to transferring it into motive power. Electrical motors and electric vehicles are up to 98% efficient. There are some losses, so there are losses, to be quite fair, due to transmission of electricity down power lines, inefficiencies in the power grid, the inefficiencies of transformers that turn the electricity from the grid into, for instance, DC power in the vehicle. So there are some losses, but it is far, far more efficient than the petroleum engine. The automakers are trying hard to invest more resources into the internal combustion engine. For instance, Toyota and Mazda do not have any good electric vehicle offerings at this point. Toyota is famous for their Prius hybrid, but that's still gasoline powered. I think Mazda and Toyota are holding on hard to the ICE vehicles. Toyota's come out with a new engine that's powered by the Atkinson cycle, where I believe the intake valves on the engine are left partly open during the compression cycle, and somehow this reduced air density produces a cleaner burn and somewhat improved efficiency, and they say they have record-breaking efficiency of close to 38% in a gasoline vehicle. Mazda has a very high compression engine called the Sky Active engine, where they're essentially, I think, not even using a spark plug much of the time. They're using such high compression that the gasoline can be ignited by the temperature increase just from compression once the engine is running, and supposedly this is giving efficiencies also around the 40 percentile range. So when you consider that is, with our very greatest technology, about the most that can be achieved so far in 2018 with the internal combustion engine, and then if you could add up all the efficiencies of getting that gasoline into your tank, you see that they're really not advancing that much. And when we have such incredibly efficient battery electric vehicles, you kind of wonder why they're still holding on to that outdated and obsolete technology. But the electric vehicles are estimated to be about 98% efficient. So what about the power that's being produced for the electric vehicles? Well, let's look at how it's being produced. So about 27% of our energy consumption in the United States is going to transportation. And this 27% of the energy is something that we can greatly reduce by using battery electric vehicles and by generating our power for transportation more efficiently than with internal combustion engines. So looking at the power plants that are used to generate electricity, there are coal power plants, natural gas, and other fossil generation, as well as nuclear power, and then all the renewables such as wind and solar. So I think the ideal situation would be if I could have enough solar attached to my house or business to completely power my vehicle, and that's my intention, to have my vehicle essentially running on sunshine and be close to 100% efficient use of the power I'm able to get from solar. But right now I do have to charge my vehicle plugged into the grid, and living where I am in Alaska, my car is running on natural gas essentially. So there are large natural gas generators, turbines that are used to make the electricity to power the grid here and run my vehicle. Some parts of Alaska are coal, but I think the majority is actually, when you look at the majority of the land mass, it's hydroelectric. And also much of the northwest of the United States and the whole west coast is powered primarily by hydro. And there are a few nuclear power plants in the southwest. I believe there's a major one in California near San Diego. But much of Canada and a good portion of the United States is already being powered by renewables, primarily hydroelectric. So there's an interesting study by the Energy Department of the United States that showed what equivalent of miles per gallon the electric vehicles are getting based on how the power is generated. So in 2009, this part of Alaska, their map showed that Alaska was getting 44 to 110 mile per gallon equivalent. So if you drove a battery electric vehicle in the Fairbanks area, where they primarily generate through coal power, even driving your car around in Fairbanks and running it on coal, you are still getting the equivalent of 44 miles per gallon when you consider all the inefficiencies. So back in 2009, in the worst areas of the country, Toyota Prius would actually be getting probably better miles per gallon than a battery electric vehicle as far as the equivalents are concerned. So I hope you understand the equivalency we're talking about, comparing the efficiency of running an electric car on the grid versus running a really efficient petroleum powered vehicle. So that's the worst case scenario. And then if we take a look at other parts of Alaska that are on hydro in 2009, the battery electric vehicle would be getting the equivalent of 110 miles per gallon. In the Northwest, the figure was 73 miles per gallon. In California, 78 miles per gallon, and other variations around the country depending on their reliance on coal. But since 2009, we've largely been removing our reliance on coal and moving more towards natural gas power plants. And in 2016, the Energy Agency showed that Alaska, the equivalencies were for electric vehicles 55 to 112 miles per gallon. The average for the Pacific Northwest is 90 miles per gallon, and then California 109 miles per gallon. So the 2016 national average, based on this Energy Agency report, is 80 miles per gallon. So on average, if you're driving a battery electric vehicle in the United States, you're getting the equivalent of 80 miles per gallon. So that is more than double the miles per gallon equivalent of what our average gas car gets. So if you just think about this, if we could right now, if we had the capacity and had the production to produce enough electric cars, if everyone could switch to electric vehicles right now, we would be all getting the equivalent of 80 miles per gallon instead of less than 30. And that would cut our reliance on foreign oil in half as far as our petroleum usage. So that alone could help our country to be completely independent of foreign oil, and we could subsist on our own domestic production of oil. And As we move forward, it's important to realize that our cars aren't going to need to continue to consume natural gas and petroleum produced in power plants. These electric vehicles are energy agnostic, and so what that means is that they don't care where they get their power from. My car can run on natural gas today, which it is doing, and then next year when I put in solar, it can run on solar, it can run on wind. So as the grid gets cleaner, the battery electric vehicles get cleaner and more efficient. And our country can very easily move forward into energy independence if we are all using electric vehicles instead of petroleum vehicles. So that's one of my concerns, energy independence. Another major concern is pollution. So one of our primary sources of pollution and smog is the gasoline-powered vehicle and diesel-powered trucks and also cars. So moving all of that to electric is going to greatly reduce pollution. And so whether you care about energy independence or about pollution and the green issues, there's a lot to be said for electric vehicles. So what does my car run on? Today it runs on natural gas. Next year I'm expecting it's going to run on sunlight. So hopefully this video has been helpful for you, and I'll give you a few links so that you can look at the various articles that I've mentioned in this video. And until then, we hope to see you back soon. Please give us a like and a subscribe if you like our videos, and we'll get some more up for you to look at soon. Thanks.